Coming up, marking 25 years of a little old show called Week in Review. Plus, we pick apart the rest of the week's news.
Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Smithfield Foods, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, Bank of America, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nick Haynes. Glad you could join us reviewing the news this week on the education beat at the Kansas City Star. Murray Rose Williams from behind the microphone at KMBZ, Scott Parks from KCUR News, education and political reporter Sam Zeff, and Star columnist and editorial writer Dave Helling. We also have an audience this week. You see, this is something special. It's been 25 years now since this program hit the air in Kansas City. Is my voice hoarse from all the celebrating we've been doing here at KCPT? Well, for some of us, you get to turn 25 twice in a lifetime. And thank you for joining us as we connect the dots on the news of the week in this place we call home.
This is the inaugural edition of Kansas City Week in Review, and we hope you'll be with us in future weeks. For all of us, I'm John Masterman.
Why would people rather gamble on a boat and not gamble at Union Station?
Are there that many people out there who want to lose money?
I've always said that some of the best television on television is this kind of television right here, and hopefully we'll live up to that tonight once again.
Paralyzed by fear of telling someone no, Mayor Barnes?
That is a gross exaggeration. In fact, it's totally untrue.
You'd lost the Attorney General's race. Was that a blow for you?
Well, you never get into a race expecting to lose.
This is not the Jerry Springer show. This is a public television. Oh, you know, well, she's going to be in that role. We didn't elect her. Yes, it's been a big week in Kansas City. Joining us now is the mayor-elect of Kansas City, Missouri, Sly James. First of all, congratulations. We haven't seen you on this program since you won the election.
Will you release your taxes from the last 6 years? If not, why not?
If you'd like to release your gallbladder examination results, and then I'd like to ask you to see whether or not your prostate records are released. I mean, it is absolutely stupid.
What many people do not realize is you actually got your start in public broadcasting, didn't you?
I did. I might have been in your seat if I had really stuck with it.
Now,
I don't know if I could have made that or not.
Particularly now, we're a very argumentative public world in Kansas City and across the country, and so when there is something we can all sort of agree on, it's pretty cool we can all get in one place and agree on it.
Which is just a great message that I think we sent to the entire country, that this is how we do things here and this is how things can be done, and doggone it, we did it, didn't we?
And thank you for joining us as we connect the dots on the news of the week in this place we call home.
This really has to be the ugliest set.
What?
This has to be the ugliest set.
Mm-hmm. It's public television, baby.
Hey, we've got something here.
Absolutely. We've got a cake, wow, for the 25 years of Week in Review.
Happy birthday to you. You don't want me singing. Happy birthday
All righty. Are we ready? To the person who doesn't have a voice.
Yes. Oh, two more.
Okay. This is for you, for watching over the last 25 years. Journalism has changed dramatically, Dave. You've been there almost since the beginning.
Yeah, and I don't feel like a day over 60, let me just tell you, Nick. It's great to be here, great to celebrate with Channel 19. This is such an important program in Kansas City. I'm not... You know, I anchored the news in Kansas City for a time. I've worked for the Star for more than a decade now, and I think I get recognized more for being on Week in Review than anything else I do. So it has an audience. It's an important place to have a discussion. Journalism has changed from when we first came on. You know, 3 stations, 1 daily newspaper, thick, big, wide. That's all changed, and so we need a place for conversations. This is a great place to
Biggest
have it.
change for you in 25 years, Marie?
The biggest change for me is I've been covering education at the Star probably, almost 2 decades. And we used to cover all of the small districts, the outlying districts, and we would be at all their school board meetings. And, I knew everybody and everybody knew me. And one of the biggest changes is the cutback in staff. And so we are not covering outside of Kansas City and the close areas like we used to.
Scott?
I think locally it would be the loss of the beat reporter, to follow up on her point. In the last, I've been in this market since 1996, so 21 years. It is clearly the loss of the beat reporter. I remember when I first came here, working at KMBZ, I would cover the Johnson County Commission. That was my beat. Finn Bullers was the Star reporter. He was there every week. We covered Overland Park City Council meetings, and we just like the Star, we've had cutbacks in staff, and it's the loss of the beat reporter. And I think that's a detriment to journalism locally in ways that maybe the public doesn't fully understand.
Sam Zafan, you've been in commercial, public television, public radio.
I think it's the reluctance to be covered. I think when I started as a reporter that you would go to city commission meetings, you would go to the State House, and while you may have not, the officials may not have wanted to be covered, they understood that was part of their job. They understood that they were supposed to be out there talking to reporters, explaining their positions and what they really believed. Now I think there is a real, and we've seen this in a great series by the Star, but I think all reporters have seen it, just this reluctance to be covered, to be open, to tell people what they really think.
There's a lot of focus, Nick, on the changes at the Star and in all of newspapering across the country, and we should not ignore that fact. We're just not, no newspaper is what it was 25 years ago. That's just a fact. But television news has changed too in Kansas City. Television news used to have reporters who did have at least quasi-beats involving government, public policy, things of importance. That's virtually disappeared now, and the reporters there will tell you that they're not allowed or don't have time to get involved at anything other than the most superficial level on issues of public importance. Instead, run out, do a live shot, interview neighbors, come back. Much more crime and violence than even 20, 25 years ago. So we shouldn't ignore that change either. At the Star, we're smaller, but in some ways television news is smaller too.
Well, I would just add to that, the loss of the seasoned reporter. Other than Michael Mahoney, Peggy Bright, name me a reporter who's been in this town on television, to follow Dave's point, that's been here for a long time. Kansas City is either somehow flyover country for people trying to get to New York or Chicago or LA or San Francisco, or I remember back in the day, and Dave, I know you could attest to this, when you got out of college, you went to a small market. Nowadays, you get out of college and you might end up at Channel 5 or Channel 4 or 41, and these people have no history, no equity in the market. And that's why you see a lot of the stories about car accidents and fires and murders. They're easy to cover. You don't have to have historical knowledge about City Hall to cover a car accident.
Scott is right. You could drop me anywhere on the planet and I could cover a fire. But it's not just a Kansas City issue. I've managed newsrooms in both St. Louis and Minneapolis, bigger markets than Kansas City. And we ended up hiring a lot of unseasoned journalists simply to save the corporation's money.
Let's talk about some of the issues making the news this week. You know, one of the big stories was the House passing the most sweeping tax overhaul in 3 decades. Any bill is going to have winners and losers, but this week local teachers crying foul. They were protesting outside of Kansas Congressman Kevin Yoder's office. They're upset about losing the $250 tax deduction when they buy school supplies out of their own pockets.
I buy pencils and pens and loose leaf paper and notebooks and folders. I have spent at least $500 in some years.
Now, Congressman Yoder says he has a lot of admiration for teachers and thinks the tax overhaul would benefit them more. He claims the average Overland Park school teacher would save more than $1,800. Isn't that better than a $250 deduction, Scott?
No, it's not. And lost in this conversation is the sickening fact that teachers have to pay for their own school supplies. this is a losing issue for Republicans regarding this tax bill, and I don't expect
Why,
it to be.
when the money is so much greater that they would actually make
Well,
it?
but you're betting on the fact that a teacher who makes $35,000, $40,000 a year at best is actually going to realize these tax savings. But to tell them, don't worry, because in your paycheck's going to be a little bit bigger, but then all the school supplies that you buy, you don't get to write off.
Isn't this about closing loopholes, though, and why should, in any way, teachers be treated differently, Sam?
Well, I think there's, for a public school teacher to have to spend their own money on school supplies for kids, I think is reprehensible in the United States of America. And Scott is right. There is a bet that all these tax loopholes will be closed, more money will come into your paycheck. That's a roll of the dice. The deduction right now is not a roll of the dice, but the greater issue is, why in the world should they have to spend money? There should be money available from wherever, so kids can have pencils and paper.
I think what's more important to the teachers is not so much the money itself, but the acknowledgement of them. It's like a thank you to teachers for what they do. And it's they find it offensive that you would take that $250. It's like a slap in the face. And I think that's what's got them more angry than the $250. That's not a lot of money. So they're spending more than that. It's the acknowledgement that they are upset about, I think.
Congressman Yoder has always been a shoo-in for re-election. Do issues like this make that harder for him when he looks for re-election next year?
Well, it does. First of all, energized teachers can be a formidable voting bloc in Johnson County, and if they're concerned about this, yes, it could change. And Kevin Yoder, let's face it, is in a district that went for Hillary Clinton. He'll have a lot to defend in the midterm election. So my guess is Scott is right that they'll figure out a way to restore this deduction in conference committee. What Murray is saying is very important. The reason you put something like this in the tax code as a way to say thank you to the teachers who spend that money, to say, in essence, we recognize your sacrifice, we believe we should share that sacrifice. To take it out, in essence, says you're on your own, it disincentivizes teachers to help out the kids. It's just a bad idea all the way around.
While there was a small crowd of teachers protesting in Overland Park, thousands were making their voices heard at Kansas State University. In fact, for the first time in more than 100 years, K-State suspended classes and shut down offices for an event that was not weather-related. K-State leaders wanted the entire student body at a campus-wide anti-hate rally, some questioning if the move was an overreaction to recent reports of hate crimes around the campus have now been declared a hoax. A man who found his car spray-painted with racial epithets now admits to police he vandalized his own vehicle. So why did K-State still move forward after local police discounted the incidents that prompted the rally in the first place, Murray?
Well, the fact that they did this after the first time they've ever done something like this in 100 years tells you that they felt that there were some racial tensions festering on that campus that perhaps we haven't heard about. And the car incident's not the first one. I mean, there was an incident last year of blackface. There have been flyers posted around campus from white supremacist groups. There was a noose hanging on the campus. So I think that what they were trying to do, and hopefully they've been successful at it, is to try to nip this in the bud, to show the students that they're paying attention, that they care. There's more going on that campus than has been reported.
You were reporting just recently, Sam, that this was the most friendly, lesbian and gay-friendly college in America.
Yes. That's with Campus Pride. They're in the top 25. K-State has made great strides in LGBT friendliness in the last 10 years or so. And I think that part of this has to do with with also affirming that this is a campus that is going out of its way to recruit DACA students, to make the LGBT experience on campus one of the most positive that they can in the country. So I think that it's both a recognition that there have been some problems, but also a recognition that they're plowing forward with this diversity issue. President Myers told me that he's going to hire a chief diversity and inclusion officer that will report directly to him. So I think there is also a positive aspect to this.
Now that KCI is out of the way, City Hall is moving forward with a slew of issues they refuse to take on, fearing it might cloud the airport debate. Well, first up, privatizing Westport streets to help combat gun violence in the Kansas City Bar District. Given alarm by some about shutting off streets, the latest plan calls for privatizing Westport sidewalks. Well, how would that work, and how would that solve violence in that entertainment area, Scott?
It would certainly be contentious because you are dealing with public streets and public sidewalks. However, Westport does have a problem, and it has had a problem for at least a decade. That problem being they cannot control yet who comes into that district. There is, and I want to be careful here, there is certainly an element that comes into that district on the weekends that is causing problems, not unlike what we had at the Plaza 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. However, we have to remember these are public streets, but the public also has a right to visit Westport on a Friday night or a Saturday night without fear of violence. And Westport has a violence problem at the moment.
How does this really solve the violence problem?
Well, I think that the idea is that somehow in the late evening, early morning hours, you might be able to do some sort of screening of patrons in the district to look for weapons. I think the common concern is that the loosening of concealed weapons legislation in Missouri has really encouraged a lot of the real violence in the neighborhood. But there will be an enormous pushback because once you go down this road, it becomes very difficult to sort of let it open up again. And so the tendency is always to be more restrictive, and now it's just sidewalks, no, it's really streets, no, it's parking lots, now we need metal detectors. And I think the neighborhood doesn't really want that, and it's probably not the best thing for Westport. Closing earlier might help some of these problems.
Bike Walk KC is one of the opposition groups saying this would be a terrible mistake because where else would it lead? Where else would we see this happening? But who else is interested in seeing this actually take place?
Well, just quickly, I think you would see it in other entertainment districts. You might see it in the City Market or the Power and Light District or 18th and Vine. And you don't want Kansas City to become, in essence, magnetometers everywhere. So there will be some effort to stop.
Well, speaking of guns, we know the issue seems to be never out of the headlines. The Star this week does a deep dive into how that's playing out in our schools. But compared to a decade ago, the number of guns being brought into area schools is way down. While Kansas doesn't keep comprehensive numbers in Missouri, there were 976 reports of a gun being brought into a school. In the last school year, it was 680. That doesn't seem to gel with the never-ending headlines we read, though, Murray.
Yeah, it is a problem because, I mean, teachers have told me that they come to school every day knowing that the chances that there is a student in their school holding a gun or some type of weapon, every day. And so, I mean, imagine teaching a class where that there's possibly a student sitting in your classroom who has a gun tucked in their backpack.
But the numbers show it's going down.
Doesn't matter. One gun is too many. And in 2015, the CDC did a study in which they talked to students, and of the students that they surveyed, they found 4.1% of the students said that they had a weapon on them within 30 days. That doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have 500 kids in your school, that's 20 kids in 30 days who have a weapon in school. That's a lot.
It's interesting that at a time when we're becoming a fortress America and in fortress Kansas City, where we're putting up a lot of security apparatus, there are school districts who had metal detectors who have actually taken them down now.
Certainly Independence did that when they took over a couple of Kansas City schools. And I think that if you can take the metal detectors out, I think it improves the school experience. They still have them in Kansas City, Kansas. They have them in Kansas City, Missouri. But my own feeling is that if there's ways that you can keep guns out of school, and let me just say, just because they went from 900 incidents to 600 incidents, that's still an embarrassment that we have that many guns coming into public schools. But if there are ways that you can control that without having metal detectors, I think it vastly improves the educational experience.
But your report showed that when Hickman Mills got rid of metal detectors, actually gun incidents actually went down, Murray.
Gun incidents reported went down. That doesn't mean the guns weren't there.
Okay.
So, I mean, you just don't know.
Well, now that the airport issue has been settled, is the next big project to be built a new Jackson County jail? Maybe not. 2 years after a task force issued a report on the state of the jail, the Jackson County executive, Frank White, has announced another task force to study what's wrong.
What you don't want to do is build a new jail and add 500 beds to it. And if the process stays the same, then down the road, now you're dealing with the same thing, overcrowded and understaffed.
So this new task force will submit its findings in 6 months. Since that last task force met, 2 consultant reports describe jail conditions as dangerous and a crisis in need of immediate attention. So why another committee, Dave?
Well, that's a good question, partly because I think Frank White is stalling for time a little bit. He's not extraordinarily enthusiastic about asking voters to pay for a new jail, but he also understands, particularly from the county legislature, but also from the public, that the conditions at the existing jail downtown are just not acceptable, and that the pressure is going to grow to either fix it at an enormous cost or build something new that's more modern at an equally enormous cost. And so my guess is he's trying to, just stall a little bit for time, and that by next spring, the verdict will be clear. You need a new jail. It's going to cost this. It needs to go here. And that will be one of the dominating issues of 2018, 2019 in Kansas City, in my view.
Is the governor of Missouri really trying to oust the state's head of education? From the St. Louis Post-Dispatch to the Kansas City Star, news stories detail a meeting of the State Board of Education planned for next week to oust Education Commissioner Margie Van Dieven. Well, the governor, according to these reports, has been packing the state board with new appointees to do just that. Why? Well, according to those news stories, firing the commissioner is part of the governor's effort to expand charter schools throughout the state of Missouri. But couldn't the governor just do that through the legislature and enacting legislation? Why does it matter who the education commissioner is? Don't they just implement the policies of the legislature, Marie?
That's correct, Nick. The State Board doesn't have anything to do with expanding charter schools, but I think what the governor is doing is responding to a campaign promise that he may have made. He got $400,000 from the DeVos folks, and so she is all about expanding charter schools and school choice, and so that's what this is about, I believe.
Is there something more to this that we need to know, Sam?
Well, I think this is it's just a naked political ploy to come through with a campaign promise. I think, too, as Murray said, play to that constituency. The DeVos people, Betsy DeVos, now the U.S. Education Secretary, gave a lot of money to the Greitens campaign, talked a lot about charter schools. And while the legislature would have to expand that charter school footprint, I think having an advocate as education commissioner certainly on the face of it would make it feel like he's fulfilled that campaign promise.
Do the arguments for charter schools improve this week, though, as we see new test results from the state of Missouri, Dave Helling, that show, for instance, in the Kansas City School District, their numbers have slipped from last year. Less than half of the district's students were declared proficient or advanced in any academic study.
It might make that argument easier if the charter schools were doing well, but in fact, their test scores are equally poor, or in some cases even worse than the public schools. And remember, it isn't just about the Kansas City schools or the St. Louis schools. There's an entire state of schools in Missouri, of course. And so any great move to take money out of public education and put more money into charters would hurt in rural areas, too. And you'll find people in rural districts worried about the firing of Commissioner Van Dieven because they think she is an advocate for their concerns as well.
Let me just add on the charter school front that Kansas City already has 22 charter schools. There are 90 schools in the Kansas City area. There are far more schools than there are students to fill them. That is hurting the Kansas City public schools the most. And they don't even have enough, some schools don't even have enough students to field a football team where you have students playing both offense and defense because there are not enough. So adding charter schools in this area could be, very consequential for Kansas City public schools.
While some are complaining of secret meetings over education in Missouri, the Star begins a week-long look at what they say is the most secretive state in the nation, Kansas. 90% of laws passed in Kansas in the last 10 years, according to the Star series, have had anonymous authors. The series begins with the story of a Kansas Transportation Department spokesman who was fired after telling reporters that a dangerous stretch of highway couldn't be repaired due to a lack of state funds. Scott, I'm really interested in your perspective on this. You have listeners all week long that you're listening to. This was a huge series in the Star. Was this a series that resonated with your audience?
Well, I think what resonates with the audience is the idea that the very people that we elect to go to Topeka to represent us, to pass bills that we hope are always in our best interest, are doing some of these things under the cloak of darkness. And there was a Tuesday article in the Kansas City Star that I read with great interest where Joan Wagnon used an expletive I don't think I can say on public television.
Not after 25 years.
No. We want another 25. But just it detailed the secretive nature of which they slipped. There was an anti-abortion measure that was slipped into a bill that had absolutely nothing to do with abortion. And in a state as red as Kansas, where, and this was, I think, 27 years ago, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, in a state as red as Kansas, why would you need to slip an anti-abortion measure into a bill that had nothing to do with abortion? Why not just take it to the floor of the House?
But I was able to find stories from Mississippi, North Carolina, and in Utah from different newspapers saying they were the most secretive state in the nation.
Well, I think there's some, Nick, there is, first of all, they are secret in other states. Let's just be clear, Missouri isn't perfect in this regard. The difference in Kansas is that it appears to be systemic and across a broad range of endeavors. The courts, the police, the Division of Children and Families, the governor's office, the legislature. You just go down the list, virtually every state-related agency, public agency, considers the public the enemy and not the masters in this situation.
You know, in the very first story last week, they quoted Bob Steffen, former Attorney General of the state of Kansas. And I remember when I was first started reporting that if you had an open records and open meetings issue, you called the Attorney General's office and they advocated on your behalf. Now you can't get information out of almost any corner of government, as the Star pointed out, whether it's local, county, or state.
And that is our Week in Review. Our thanks to our news reviewers. I'm Nick Haynes. Have a happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at KCPT.